Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest in the Asian Downstream Insights series of Digital Thought Leadership. Today, we are absolutely delighted to be joined by Adlan, Head of Hydrogen Division at Petronas. Adlan was appointed as the Head of Hydrogen Division, a new division under Gas and New Energy, in October last year, from his previous position as Head of a Strategic Alliance, Corporate and Strategy. He spent the first 16 years of his career at Petronas as an engineer and corporate planner, and the next 14 in various positions across both public and private sector. Prior to his appointment in Strategic Alliance, Adlan was the CEO of Superior Energy Service, where he was integral in restructuring the organization and developing new business. We're looking forward to hearing his views on the latest development in our energy business, the hydrogen economy. And Adlan, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure for me to be here today.
Wonderful. Now, first of all, Adlan, could you tell us a little bit about what the hydrogen economy means to you and what role you think hydrogen will play in the next era of the energy transition?
The hydrogen economy, it needs to start with a government policy with some goal of having a low carbon position in the country, because only then will the other things follow. Yeah, after establishing let's say a goal to achieve a certain magnitude of carbon reduction, and then the country needs to come up with a roadmap on how they're actually going to achieve this. And I think after looking at all the options, which includes using renewable energy to decarbonize certain sectors, I think they will quickly realize that it will be difficult to achieve without hydrogen. Yeah. So once they have actually identified where hydrogen will play a role within the decarbonization agenda of the particular country, and then that is when the hydrogen economy will actually begin, because then a focused effort will need to be put in place to make sure that all the carbon emitters are then replaced and with hydrogen to lower the carbon emission.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I completely agree. I think it's all about a detailed roadmap that involves both public and private sector. And obviously your experience across both of those would have made your expertise in strategizing Petronas's hydrogen economy very useful. And the interesting thing is we talk about the start of the hydrogen economy, but generating hydrogen isn't really a new concept. So what do you think has changed on that front in recent times for the oil and refining industry?
You're exactly right. We have Petronas have been producing hydrogen for the last 30 over years, and they are mainly used for our refining and our petrochemical industry. And I'm quite sad to say that over the years we have not done anything about the carbon dioxide that is actually emitted in the process of producing this hydrogen from gas. So I think that is the main change that has happened. You know, the awareness of global warming and the need to reduce greenhouse gas emission, and countries and government making the commitment and taking the stand to actually do something about it now. Yeah. So I think that this has been the big change. It is actually all these policies that have actually emerged across the European Union, some countries in Asia, North America, that is currently spearing the demand for hydrogen as they try to decarbonize the industries in order to lower the carbon emission. I think that's the big difference.
Mm-hmm. The government's taking a stand towards sustainability. And as you mentioned, there are a number of major factors, buzzwords, if you will, shaping the next phase of the energy transition. And we touched on a few of the important ones just then. There's sustainability, lower carbon emissions. And of course, another important one is innovation and digitalization. And as we enter a new digital era, how can can you think that innovation and new technologies can help with the development of the hydrogen economy?
I think everybody knows hydrogen is not a cheap fuel. It doesn't exist naturally. You need to process fossil or take solar and do electrolysis in order to get hydrogen. So by the time it's produced, it's quite expensive. So unless there is technology that can actually bring the cost of production down, I think the cost of producing green hydrogen today through electrolysis is somewhere in the range of about 5 to 6 USD, depending on the electricity tariff. It's going to be too expensive for anybody to implement in a purely commercial basis. So there's two things that need to happen. The efficiency of the technology can increase and lower the price of production from 5 or 6 to maybe 2 USD per kilogram. And number two, before we get to that stage where technology can actually bring the cost down, then the government will need to step in, unfortunately, and provide the necessary incentives, whether in terms of tax breaks or introducing carbon tax to encourage people to use more clean fuel. Yeah, so I think that's those are the two main factors that we actually need in order to get it to a point where it can be available on a purely commercial basis for everyone. But I have to say that we are still a long ways away from getting to that stage. But we need to start. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you've mentioned, hydrogen has been a key part of Petronas's history for the last 3 decades, and it's going to play a key part in your future as well. What are your near-term ambitions and strategies for developing the future of hydrogen at Petronas?
Yes, I think Petronas, we are trying to be very pragmatic about how we enter the industry. There's a lot of hype out there with so many projects being announced. But we want to make sure that whatever we introduce to the market is really backed by the demand. Yeah. So we have got good relationship with some of our LNG customers in these parts of the world, in Asia. And we have tried to get a very deep understanding about how they are actually going to grow the business. We are aware that they still need to do some demonstration or tests before they can actually roll out this hydrogen consuming technologies to their industries. So we want to get in even at that stage, and we would try to get in with what we already have in the Petronas system now. Yeah. For example, we do have some low carbon hydrogen coming out from our petrochemical plants as part of the cracking process. Yeah. So we would like to offer that to the market, to any of the customers who require low carbon hydrogen today. And we can also offer that this hydrogen can be transported in the mode of ammonia, because we are already an ammonia player, and we can leverage on that ammonia facilities in order to transport the hydrogen to their country. So in the early stages, that's what we intend to do. We will try to maximize on our current capability and assets to meet this demand, because they're not very big at the moment. Yeah. But beyond that, we feel that the future is in green hydrogen. Yeah. Where we use renewable energy to produce this low zero carbon hydrogen. And with this, I think we need to partner up with some of our local players, specifically the supplier of renewable hydroelectricity, because we are a little bit blessed there in Malaysia, in that area, that we do have hydroelectricity. So we would like to partner with them, and actually together we will produce the green hydrogen using hydropower. And then we will use our expertise to convert it into a form that can be converted. As I mentioned just now, ammonia is one of those candidates. But we can also convert it to other chemicals if required by the customer. So we will progress step by step according to what the customer wants. So in that way, we are never taking too big of a risk, because as you know, it's still nascent. The supply demand is still in the process of emergence. Yeah. Then, but we should take this opportunity also to position ourselves that when the exponential growth actually happens for hydrogen, that we would have our foot in already. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the position that we're taking at the moment, Amanda. Thank you.
First mover advantage, if you will. And what are the challenges that you have found, and the challenges that you think downstream operators will face when integrating hydrogen into their existing assets and infrastructure, and how can you overcome these challenges?
That's a very good question. I think there's so it sounds simple that all you have to do is to change the source of your hydrogen, but it's actually much more than that. Yeah. I think one of the main issues that I see is, of course, in this area of carbon credit. Yeah. I think I think the rules are still needs to be advanced further, because at the moment, um, if I use hydropower to produce hydrogen and then sell the hydrogen to my customer, the carbon credit actually goes all the way to the end. Yeah. And so for a company like Petronas, who has got this ambition to have a position in net zero carbon, and we have made the effort to actually do it, but the credit somehow, according to the current system, doesn't really come back to us. It only goes to the end customer, who's actually paying for the premium at the end of the chain. Yeah. So so this is something that this is a challenge that we need to figure out and overcome, on how recognition needs to be given to everybody along the value chain who tries to make this happen. Then of course, on the technology side, there are many ways to transport hydrogen. Yeah, I already mentioned about ammonia and other chemicals, but there is we still need to further develop on when these chemicals arrive at the customer. How do you then extract or dehydrogenate the chemicals to extract the hydrogen that you actually want to use? So this is a technology that is still under development. There's even a big interest in transporting hydrogen in the form of liquid. But this is another energy intensive process, because you have to cool the gas to minus 250 degrees C in order to get it in liquid form. But because when it's liquid, it's the density is higher. That means you can do more with less. There are still customers who actually prefer to look at this mode of transportation. So these are the challenges that I see at the moment. And I'm sure over time, there will be more investment being made to refine these technologies to a point that they can be commercialized, so that the customers will have the option of getting the hydrogen in whatever form they need. And we hope to be part of this process, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. And to go back to what you were saying about green hydrogen, now it's estimated that green hydrogen actually accounts for less than 1% of the total amount of global hydrogen production per year. How do you think that downstream business leaders and the sector as a whole can work towards increasing this percentage, and also avoid a greenwashing of hydrogen as a fuel source?
It will take more than one party in order to increase it, as you can imagine. Yeah. We talk about the collaboration between government, between private entity, between academia, to come together in order to get it to a point where this clean fuel is available to everybody. And you're right. There's a lot of greenwashing. People are trying to use abatement and somehow claim that their product is green. I think uh, that is not a sustainable approach to this. What needs to happen is fundamentally the cost of producing the green hydrogen needs to go down. Of course, the most important component in producing green hydrogen is the electricity itself, the renewable electricity. So we have seen in recent times that the cost of producing solar electricity from solar has gone down tremendously. Yeah, and this is what we need actually in order for us to have more green hydrogen to be supplied. Yeah, so but it's not only solar, but what about wind? Is there a way for us to introduce a more efficient, low speed wind turbines that can be used, not necessarily only in areas where there is high wind, that you can actually have access to this. And also, if the cost of the electrolyzer can go down, then you can couple a lot of these solutions together and even make it in a portable form that it could lead to a situation where you can be producing green hydrogen in situ. Yeah. So again, there will. It, I guess I'm looking at it in phases. I think in this early phase, when the technology is still very very expensive, then we do need that government support and incentives to come in so that the research can continue and people can continue to commercialize this technology to a point that it becomes available for everybody in whatever form that they want. So I think this is the situation that we are in. We are in the early stage, and but we are hoping that for the sake of the planet, that we will be able to come up with a good solution that can contribute significantly to the reduction of carbon emission. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. And you touched there on the commerciality of hydrogen, and how can key players in the industry work towards making hydrogen production a more affordable and lucrative option for downstream operators? And can you expand a bit more on how you think government regulation and public-private collaboration can help play in the development of this lucrative hydrogen economy?
Yes, as I mentioned just now, it needs to happen in stages. Yeah, you need to have the government that has put in place policies that will encourage the use of hydrogen in the downstream. I'll give you an example. If you just look at mobility, hydrogen cars, for example, yeah. Yes, there will be the producers who produces the hydrogen, but then you need the infrastructure that will make this hydrogen dispensing station available in the petrol station, for example. And then you need to have, of course, the hydrogen cars, yeah? The people who are going to fill up with hydrogen. So if the cost of the cars are too expensive, you will never have critical mass of people buying hydrogen cars. Yeah. So this is where the government needs to provide some incentives in encouraging people to start using hydrogen cars by making them tax-free, or an attractive scheme that will encourage people to buy. So to do the infrastructure to put in the hydrogen dispensing station, that's a very high capital investment. Yeah. So this again, in order to put this in place, we need some assistance. Yeah, the private sector will need some assistance from the government in terms of, it needs to be a public-private partnership in order to make this happen. And the same goes for the producers. So so this is only mobility for the cars, yeah. But we can also see into the future where hydrogen can also be used as the fuel for marine transport or even for aviation. So it won't be easy to ensure that this gets into a stage where it's feasible purely on commercial basis. So it will be a journey where there needs to have this collaboration with the government happen, with the industry, before it gets to a point that it can be made available to the masses. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And how do you think that Asia compares with other regions when it comes to the development of hydrogen as a clean fuel source? And are there any countries or regions that you think are leading the way in the development of the hydrogen economy, and why?
Well, I think it's very different, Asia compared with Europe, compared with North America. A lot of the countries in Asia are still developing. I think we are going to see the same thing as what we see in the LNG business, where there will be certain main buyers in Asia, and there will be other countries in Asia who will become the suppliers. Yeah, and it will be some time before some of our neighbors will get to this stage. And even for Malaysia, I think the emphasis now is to make the energy affordable. Yeah, and we haven't gotten to the stage where people are willing to pay a premium for low carbon fuel, because they need they need the low fuel to actually help them make a living on a daily basis. Yeah. So it would take some time. I think the awareness, the education of the masses needs to happen. The technology will need to come to a point where it becomes affordable for everyone, and then we can see a wider use of hydrogen or other low carbon fuels in Asia. But we are definitely in a different playground, compared to the people in Europe who have a much bigger awareness and are more ready to adopt this.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Adlan. I think there were some fascinating insights shared there on innovation helping make energy affordable, on public-private collaboration and how important that is, and on the future of the hydrogen economy and Petronas's key role in developing that. So thank you very much for sharing your insights, and thank you for joining Asian Downstream Insights.
Thank you so much.